Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah allazi anzala ala abdihi alkitaba wa lam yaj'al lahu 'iwaja. Wa usalli wa sallim ala rasulihil karim wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Yang terutama Bapak Wakil Presiden Republik Indonesia Kiai Ma'ruf Amin, saudara saya Premier Abang Johari, Timbalan Premier Dato Wang Tengah, tamu-tamu yang dimuliakan dan rakan-rakan dari seluruh persatuan pertubuhan yang hadir. Kita tentunya berbangga kerana pada malam ini kita dapat bersama-sama meraihkan satu pertemuan atas ikhtiar rakan-rakan dan dalam Global Muslim Business Forum, dan saya agak tertarik kerana Sarawak Bumi Kenyalang ini dapat mengambil inisiatif mengatur satu pertemuan yang boleh menarik minat ramai teman-teman dari luar negara untuk memberi rangsangan dan dukungan kepada satu ikhtiar yang sangat menarik. Jadi saya ucap tahniah dan terima kasih. Vice President, Premier, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I made special reference to the state of Sarawak and the Premier because not many of you are familiar with the fact that Malaysia is of course a multiracial country, but more so Sarawak, as you have seen in the cultural performance, is a state with huge cultural differences and multiracial, multi-ethnic, multi-religious. And for them to be able to continue this mission, empathize with the people of various religions and cultures, and at the same time continue to promote the welfare of the Muslims, business, economy, is of course a remarkable feat. That's why I make it a point to commend the leadership of Premier Abang Johari for that initiative, because it signifies the meaning of lita'arafu, a measure of understanding, of appreciation of how Sarawakians understand the need to understand, appreciate, and love one another, and give opportunities to all race and religion to prosper out of their own choice. So, thank you very much, among you. Now, the second reference is, of course, because Sarawak, as explained partly by Premier, it is remarkable because it had taken the lead in some of the imminent changes critical in this period. Let me talk about the period. We are talking about post-normal times. Now, post-normal times is characterized by what? Complexity, by chaos, by contradictions. These are problematic, or if they say problematic of the world. Climate is a major issue. Civil strife, unruliness, barbaric actions, have you seen? The Israeli aggression in Gaza is also a related issue. Massive migration, many countries due to climate change, to civil strife, is also a major challenge. And the unequal development that we have seen between the industrialized world and the developing economies, and even in the new innovation that we talk about in this conference, in digital transformation, if we are not careful, particularly the Muslims, then we will exacerbate this crisis, because instead of giving adequate opportunities to all, we will continue to allow for this growing inequality gap for the very rich and privileged and the poor. So we are dealing with these post-normal times, and I made reference just now how in many of these areas, Sarawak has taken the lead. He mentioned hydrogen, he mentioned green technology, renewable energy, hydropower. You see, leadership is about taking risks, innovations that will benefit the state and the country and the people at large. And I hope those present here would also take an opportunity, other than discussing the issues relating to business opportunities, interconnectedness, and possible collaborations between the business groups in the private sector, also see some of the major initiatives undertaken by Malaysia and in particular Sarawak. Now, on the related point, if you look and examine the present Islamic world, we see the need to enhance collaboration. The Indonesian Vice President made reference to the need for inclusivity, to free ourselves from isolation, and see ourselves, even among neighbors, opportunities to collaborate instead of competing. We are fortunate in Malaysia. We have neighbors, Indonesia, who have taken that position to collaborate and see and complement one another, and not necessarily to aggressively compete. Brunei, Darussalam, and yesterday I was with the new Thai Prime Minister Seta at the border between Thailand and Malaysia to seek ways to further foster better relationship and investments and trade, and facilitate the exchanges, particularly those in that poorer areas, poor South Thailand, poor North Peninsula Malaya. So if the leadership take the initiative and try and facilitate, I don't actually choose or prefer the term facilitate. I am quite impatient. I mean, those of you who know my life history, naturally I have to be impatient. I would like to accelerate the process. If we want to benefit from and not lose out in this race, then we have to accelerate. So in the case of the neighbor, particularly the majority Muslims in South Thailand and the Muslims in North Peninsula Malaya, of course this collaboration would be of immense help to both countries. Although the Thai Prime Minister is a Buddhist and I am a Muslim, but at least our common cause and commitment to facilitate and accelerate the process, as we have seen the collaboration with President Jokowi of Indonesia. So, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we in Malaysia have taken some initiative. And for most of you are familiar, would realize that we were at the forefront in Islamic finance, with established legacy marked by the founding of Bank Islam Malaysia and the Hajj Board, the Lembaga Tabung Haji. Malaysia's Islamic finance is globally acclaimed with an Islamic banking market share of 45.5% and an Islamic capital market that represents 64.3% of the total capital market. However, their influence in the world arena is not significant. Even as Islamic financial services have grown significantly, its proportion in the global value is still very low. Therefore, the potential for the upscaling of these services globally, including services to people and entities beyond Muslims, is huge. It's interesting to note that when we introduced the Islamic Bank, Bank Islam, the support and participation by non-Muslims is commendable. It's how you relate and explain. Instead of being partisan, exclusive, you take it as a national platform, national program, and let people choose between the conventional system and what Islamic system could offer. Now, we have announced in the 12th Malaysia Plan, in the recent, midterm review of the 12th Malaysia Plan last month, which I introduced in Parliament. Our ambition is to continue to take the lead in the international halal market, aiming for a halal export value of 63 billion ringgit by 2025. And I think, again, on this subject, it's interesting to note that in all countries I visit, and more so, the need to further collaborate with Indonesia in this regard. Because in all these countries I visited, from China to Vietnam to Thailand, without exception, all of them want to support and recognize, number one, halal certification, number two, to support collaboration in terms of halal industry because of its huge market potential, not only in the Middle East, but also in Europe, in the United States, and in Africa. But the theme is, of course, innovation. And I would like to share some of my concerns. Barakah Bank leaders are here. I've been associated with Sheikh Saleh Kamil for a long time. But let me share some experiences. After all, I had a small role in propelling the Islamic banking in Malaysia. And when I was then the Minister of Finance, strongly supported the expansion of Islamic bank facilities. But let us now reflect, assess critically the rate of success, the need to further innovate, and to ensure that it meets the aim and ultimate objective of the Maqasid Sharia. There is, of course, a major question that we must address. We did make an initiative, and I think we need to commend, thank the pioneers for their remarkable achievement. But we also understand the flaws. One notable scholar, Professor Najatullah Siddiqui, who was one of the great minds that promote this whole idea of Islamic banking and finance. Years before his death, wrote a devastating critique of the Islamic banking system. He is not dismantling the banking system, but he's questioning, is this enough? Does it meet the requirements of the Maqasid Sharia? Does it meet the objectives of the Sharia? We talk about economic justice, adl wal ihsan. That's Islamic banking, Islamic financial system, business enterprise in the name of Islam is just like any other conventional practice, or does it actually meet the higher objectives of ensuring justice, ensuring greater participation, resolve part of the huge calamity as a result of the unbridled capitalism that has caused gross inequality, the 1% controlling the economy, and you have to see or tolerate the presence of millions of homelessness like around the cities in New York and San Francisco or Chicago. Unbridled capitalism that led to inequality and also condone the existence of abject poverty. Now, these are issues that we need to discuss. Of course, we have to discuss investments. We have to increase trade. We have to strengthen the collaboration. I am not disputing that. I happen to be Minister of Finance. I know how critical this is. But I'm also appealing to you to say that let these great minds resolve this major problem of trying to see an alternative that can answer some of the concerns of the world today. Climate change, addressed both by the earlier speakers of Vice President Kiai Ma'ruf and also my friend Premier Abang Joe. But Islam has provided the answer about maintaining balance and equilibrium and respecting nature. To the extent, even during war, you cannot cut any tree unless it is so critical in the strategic warfare. I mean, to the extent of protecting the environment. وَكَذَلِكَ جَعَلْنَاكُمْ أُمَّةً وَسَطًا لِتَكُونُوا شُهَدَاءَ عَلَى النَّاسِ وَيَكُونَ الرَّسُولُ عَلَيْكُمْ شَهِيدًا. You have to forgive me, Kiai is here for me to recite the Quran. What is promoted by the Quran is that we have to strive to be a balanced community. What is a balanced community? That understands and struggles to maintain an equilibrium between the worldly affairs and the akhirah, the spiritual and the material. And more so in this regard, man and nature. The equilibrium must be found. If you come and destroy nature, the result will be calamity. So, in that regard, Islam is in the forefront if only we take an attempt to understand, comprehend the issues, and try our level best to resolve it. So, in his critique, in his critique of the Islamic banking and financial system, he is suggesting that, yes, we have started, yes, the fundamentals are right, but we cannot accept this as the norm. We have to move forward with innovation, not just making sure that the instruments is halal or non-riba and leave the rest to a purely conventional system. We have to make sure and critically assess whether the sense of justice and to resolve the gross inequality is only by qard hasan or having the system that requires a greater participation and more instruments in this regard. Of course, I don't have all the answers, but I'm just provoking and questioning and even finally appealing for leading business community of the great minds and scholars here to use this opportunity to reflect what we need to do, particularly because the demand and imperative to change is imminent. We have, for example, and in Malaysia, we have introduced digital transformation. in the Islamic banking system, in Islamic business, that has become part of the change that's required. We have talked about energy transition that I've referred to by Premier, that we have to accept not only because it is a decision by the international community, but it is for our own survival. We have also talked about Madani concept to remind Malaysians that whilst we go for sustainability, but it cannot be sustainability as understood by the West. It has to be economic sustainability, but it has to be based on core values and principles of justice and protection of the environment. That's why we have ihsan and amana as the core principles, that values that we have to inculcate, particularly to our young. And finally, of course, the Business Forum is a good effort to reinforce that notion and provide a platform for a more vigorous and focused actions. Now, I think the combination of political leadership and the business community must, of course, work in tandem, because leadership is the critical constraint for achievement, be it in economic, political, or enterprises, micro, national, or multinational. And because we happen to live in a multiracial country and multiracial state of Sarawak, we always encourage that this business forum must also appreciate the need to continue its interfaith dialogue, understanding, and even collaboration, because that happens to be something that we need to continue to propagate. So let me end by, again, thanking the State of Sarawak and the Premier, and to Awang Tengah for his leadership in the Global Business Forum and for organizing this splendid dinner and program. And I can only say that in this extremely busy schedule, because Parliament is in session, I was virtually forced by Abang Jo to come, just to go back tonight. I have a very bit of bias. Today, these days, is 1 year of Kerajaan Perpaduan. And we have achieved, we can talk about energy transition, digital transformation, economic vibrancy, because we are politically stable. Alhamdulillah. We have more than 2/3 majority in Parliament. But I want just to say this, that I cannot ignore the fact that Premier Tan Sri Tupi Tinggi, Abang Johari, and GPS played a vital role in this regard. So this is, to me, also an occasion of celebration, more in a sense of a challenge, because 1 year, first few months, somewhat minor turbulence, but now politically stable to focus on the economy and energy transition. Terima kasih. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.